Hello everyone and welcome back to Planet Zoo, finally back in a speed build. Today we are going to build a wonderful red panda habitat. Well, in fact it's the first episode of 2 and we are going to build a realistic one. That one is going to be a blueprint that you can download from the Steam Workshop, and it's not only going to look hopefully very good, but also will fulfill all the requirements for all the different modes you're playing in. The only thing, as always, I can't guarantee is the usage of DLC pieces, so potentially you need to have all the DLCs when you use it, but other than that, I'm trying to really make this habitat as realistic as possible, and therefore, I actually did a lot of research, and I want to quickly talk about a couple of things before we jump into a bit more of some other topics about this build. Now, I really did my research about the red panda habitats, and I started with one of the habitats that I recently visited, and that is the red panda habitat in the Wuppertaler Zoo, which is the Wuppertaler Mountain Zoo, and they have a very overgrown habitat that has a slight incline in it, and I wondered why there was that incline also from the perspective of the guest, and I did a bit of research if that is the thing that you would do, and here comes a little bit of knowledge that I didn't have before last week when I was digging for a couple of info about this. So it appears that especially with shy animals, you always try to build a habitat or design a habitat in a way that these animals feel less shy and basically not as much annoyed by the guests. So there are a couple of ways of doing it. Have a big distance, obviously, make sure like a one side glass and all these kind of things, make sure that there is a good noise reduction going on. A lot of plants always help, but mostly what I found about the incline is that these animals feel better when they feel taller, like when they are bigger, and with a bit of forced perspective from both sides, they have the feeling that they are above things, and so they are not on eye level or on level with the guests, so that makes them feel less intrigued by the people around. And on the other hand side, for the guest, it's kind of cool because you look upwards into the habitat and you have the chance to spot more animals as if it was only straight. So it's a cool effect for both sides, so I figured that's a good idea to have that here, and this is also why I put the whole habitat in a little mold, just digging it down a tiny bit, and I thought it was a cool idea because you can then make this a finished thing that you can put in your zoos, and not only it looks good, but it also gives you a tiny bit of incline, making some layers, which I think is always helpful to make your zoo look more interesting. So a couple of things that play into this build. And the next thing is that I researched a lot on Zoo Chat about different red panda habitats, and what I figured is that most of these habitats feature an indoor and outdoor area, which makes sense because of their temperature sensitiveness, if that's a thing, and they most likely have these kind of walkways over here, which bring them from one area to the other behind walls, or like very secured. This is not to make them stay inside of the habitat. This is again to prevent them from becoming too stressed. So whenever they have the feeling they have to go, and they don't want to go through the entire habitat by seen by the people, they can use these walkways pretty easily to get back into their secure backstage area. And this is what I did over here with the two tunnels. This one over here in the main part will be covered a lot with foliage, which we're going to talk about in the real-time part again. And the main habitat, like the main design of this habitat, will be done in today's build, but all the detailing, all the little stuff, and this is something I'm going to put out again as some single blueprints as well, like some cupboards for the backstage area, some shelves and stuff, and little things, custom enrichment items and all these kind of things I will make in the next episode, and then you can also download these things together with this blueprint. So yeah, I was really happy with how that turned out. Also making this little cage over here. The one in Wuppertal has also this kind of mesh fence or mesh design as a cage, and so I went with this. See, I would have loved to do that with the ropes, but the ropes in the game are like way too thick. I would have needed to go with the African pieces. I didn't contact Haribo this time, and I was too lazy to do it myself. It's just like the problem about these ropes, as great as they are, the African ropes, you always are forced to build a certain form factor, because they are slightly rounded, and you know, that makes the whole build always a bit more complicated in terms of how you make this design. And I had a very particular design in mind. This is going to be inspiration wise, this building is a very much standard 2000 to 2010 build zoo habitat. Like it's not super modern, it's like not anything crazy from the 2020s now, but it's also not too much in the 90s vibes, you know. It was something like very much modern-esque in the mid 2000s. I think this is where you would locate this architectural style of this build pretty much the best, because it features loads of these things, still a couple of plaster and concrete pieces, but then also mixed in with some wood, a bit more sustainable design. And also the roof, later on you will see it's a mixture of corrugated steel and some other materials like wood, and so I have a wood framing. So yeah, I was looking at some builds, but this is just loosely inspired by some normal zoo builds that you can find in various zoos. And yeah, this viewing gallery over here is also inspired by one viewing gallery. I think it was with the beavers in Wuppertal Zoo, but yeah, just very simple, a couple of wooden structures around. And then yeah, the reason though why I need to use this Arctic piece obviously is that this is one of the single sole pieces in the game that are not climbable, and they are wooden pieces. So it's a bit of a pity that this is not flexicolor. So Frontier, if you're listening, please make this Arctic wood piece flexicolor, or give us a second option of it that is flexicolor, because this one is legit the only piece we can use that is not climbable in the game. So it's apparently a very much well-known and very much often used piece when it comes to making structures that the animals shouldn't climb on, and you are always forced to use the same color. In this particular habitat, it works amazingly well, because this is exactly the wooden color I would go for anyways for the red panda. It fits the Asian style, even though it's Arctic, but it fits like into the Asian vibes as well. So yeah, I mean, that would be cool if that could be handled. But anyways, yeah, you can see now we're putting some facilities down, and I figured, you know what's kind of cool if the kitchen could actually look inside of the habitat, because this is in the backstage area anyway. So the staff member could actually look inside and see what's going on. There are a couple of these things implemented into the design, keeping in mind how the staff would access a habitat like that. And this is also why you do have certain elements like more doors. We will also add more doors, which I'm going to show a bit better in detail in the real-time part. I think it's very important to always look into certain things in the game that are totally cosmetic but still would make things so much more realistic. Like a habitat like that would always have more than one door to enter this. This is one of the biggest criticisms I still have about the game, why we can't have more than one gate into a habitat. It's pretty common zoos have multiple gates simply because to improve the accessibility for different staff members. Like imagine if you have a habitat that connects to 3 areas in your zoo and sometimes is separated by some natural elements like a river or whatever, and the animals can pass it obviously, but in Planet Zoo you need to build a bridge for the staff member to get over. But in fact, in reality, there would be a gate on both sides of the river and making it accessible from 2 or 3 staff hubs that you have around. So that is how you would lay it out in real life, and then you can't really do that in the game. You have to imply this, and this is a bit of a pity. At least having 2 or 3 gates, I don't know if the number is limited, fine, but still more than 1 would be great. This area over here in particular turned out really great, and I'm super happy. This is also the focus of the build, so to say. We did this on the live stream, and most of the live stream time went into this area over here. I wanted to make this area one big climbing element, so to say, and the ground down there is meant to be as in the middle of the concrete piece. As you can see, it's almost like a little fake carpet if you want. I'm not sure if you would use a fake carpet or if that would be actually grass and stuff, but the idea is that this is hold in this frame of concrete so that they can do whatever they want in there to make that a bit nicer for the animals, and have this ground also covered in their natural materials. And so you would have some mulch down there, some grass, some stone and rock, and maybe also sand mixed into it. So a couple of things that I put in here to make it very nice and enjoyable for the animals. And then we built some of the items I found online that you quite often see in habitats for red pandas or other smaller climbing animals. And this is somewhat like a little bit of a hanging element, which has a couple of these rounded, it's not a hammock, it's just kind of a connecting piece that they can traverse over, make like a little platform on top here where we put some enrichment items on. So just making sure that these animals enjoy that time also in the air. And the same idea applies. The higher they can get and the more above the eye level of people they are, the better they feel and the less shy they are. So if you want to make these animals get closer to the window so that guests can see them without the animals getting too stressed, you have to find a way of doing that. And this is basically the way that you would do it, so the red panda can actually chill very much higher in their area and then look down on the people, so it doesn't feel that stressed and you as a guest can still see them. Putting some of the plants in here in a very clever way just to make sure that, that this is what they need to see, and they shouldn't see the backstage area. There still is that rounded window so that the people from the staff area, like the staff members, can still watch into the main hub, so they can always see if there's something going wrong or if they have to change something, or just making sure that there are a couple of elements in this habitat for staff members to monitor the animals without being seen by the guest. And this is again another part of a realistic habitat design. It's not only how you would lay it out for the animals, but also how you would lay it out for the staff members and for the staff to achieve the best workflow, and at the same time not being seen all the time to break the immersion. Of course, there will always be zoos that really don't give too much about the immersion. They just want to have a great habitat and just have the keepers roaming around in there whenever they want. But nowadays it's pretty common to always have an eye on having an immersion of a very naturalistic habitat that the animal is the sole participant in, and the staff members basically don't exist. And to be honest, I think it's also a good idea, because the lesser the staff member has to traverse through the habitat, the lesser the animals are annoyed by them. I mean, I guess they technically like them because they get food and they get cleaned and stuff like that, and most likely they have a very good bond with the staff members. But the target should be to have the animals in an environment that is as natural as possible. And here comes the bitter truth, which shouldn't be surprising, but the natural environment is without humans, so we better leave it that way. So I would be a big fan of keeping the animals mostly alone in their habitats and just having staff members around when really desperately needed. So I think the idea to have a habitat that has multiple viewing angles for the staff members from a distant position is always a good idea, because that way you would definitely make sure that your animals enjoy the time the most. However, this should be it for my voiceover. I will be back in about, 2.5 minutes in the real-time part, where we have a look into the particular build here. Thank you very much for tuning in so far. We will have a little talk about this habitat and the next episode later, but for now, enjoy the last couple of minutes of time lapse, and I see you after the cut. There we go, guys. Here we are in the real-time part, and we are already looking into a flying red panda over here. They are in the indoor area, and you can see they use the segment just as they are supposed to be using them. Look, this one is let me just fly in here. It's just jumping over these things, running over, and it's looking decent. It's not looking perfect, but it's looking decent. How they move over these things, like a little bit crazy on that end, but I think it's kind of cool. You can see them from over here using these climbing tools, and it looks the way it should. And yeah, just in general, this is the whole area we have so far. A couple of things we need to change, and then go into a bit of detailing. So I will guide you through the habitat real quick, as I said already in the speed build. This is meant to be a super realistic habitat. Now this is the whole backstage area. It's going to be covered a little bit. This trade center is going to be removed, and we will need to have a connection to this path, because unfortunately our lone ranger here, who's the shop worker, is tired and he needs to go. Technically there will be a gate here, so as in my imagination, the real connection will be here to go through the habitat, and then from the staff area right into the shop if you want to. Obviously it's not like perfect because you go through the habitat, but the animals are most likely in their two areas anyways, and they have different connectors to avoid the staff members anyhow. So as you imagine, you are a staff member coming in here, you're greeted with this area, and I'm going to put some information stuff and just some tools and so on will be put in here. This will be like a tool rig and stuff to clean this and so on. On the left hand side you've got one of the sleeping boxes, and if you go around there is another one. Look, it actually uses it, which is pretty cool. And then from here, this is exactly what I meant, you can have a peek into the indoor section, and you can see if there's anything going wrong. Also, you already have a peek, you can see your fellow coming down here. This will be like a little bit of a backstage area for some chests and so on, and some lockers and all that kind of crap that would be in here. Animals wouldn't bother too much. We make like a fake gate in order to make sure that this could be locked for the animals, that they don't go in there. And then to the right hand side, again, you can see you can turn around, you can have a look into this tunnel, you see if they're all doing great. We might do a little bit of a window here as well, so they can have a look outside into this area. And then if they go down this staircase, they can just stand here and have a look into this area. If they want to go even further, they can use that gate over here, stand here and have a good look what's going on in the habitat without being seen by the guest, because the guest can't really see any of that, because it's actually hidden very well here with the bamboo, and this upper area is all hidden by the foliage as well, so you can really barely see this tunnel. So this entire area here is mainly for the red pandas themselves. They can just use that as a little area to enjoy. And then this front area has the same idea. As I said, everything is pretty high, so they always feel like being a lot higher than the guests are. And then yeah, this is just how it looks, and I think I'm very happy with how it looks right now. It's definitely getting a lot closer to what I wanted to achieve here. And if we do a little zoom, you can see that this is actually working pretty well, even though okay, I mean, you couldn't see the depth of field, but I had a depth of field setting that was a little bit crazy here. So on this side, yeah, I think it's looking really cool. It's looking really good. And also the change that we did on live stream to put like a skylight in here. I always used to say headlight for whatever reason, but we put a skylight here. Having some more light coming down into this indoor area makes a lot of sense. We need to do some cooling systems, some pipe work and all that kind of stuff. You can see the roof in general isn't really done. There will be a couple of pipes going down here, connecting the stuff, the shop here, the information and all the other stuff, and then making sure that this all goes. We have like a little bit of a generator here in the back and air conditioning. So all these kind of stuff that it really doesn't need to be there, but I want this to make it really realistic. So I really hope you guys enjoyed finally a good old speed build again. That took me a long time to build. This is also my excuse to why there wasn't that much. The planning and the building, it looks clean and easy and slick, but this is the result of a lot of testing and planning. So I can tell you, because I just edited it now, this was 5.5 hours of footage that is only used to make this, plus a lot of stuff that I didn't even use. So the research is not calculated in. So that was a lot of time that went into this build, but I can say it paid out. It really paid out, and I'm super happy. I'm super happy. So please, now it's your turn to put in the comments down below what kind of realism aspects you want to see in the next episode. So give me all of your stuff. So pipework, of course, but what do zoos have in habitats as well? What kind of tools do they have? What kind of assets do we need? Is there anything I have to look into? We've got babies, oh my god. So what do I need to do? What do I need to do in order to make this super realistic? So shoot in the comments. Don't hold back, even though it's so tiny and just a little detail. It doesn't matter. It should be going in here if it can. So thank you so much for your support, guys. Thank you so much for the ongoing fun and comments and stuff. This is really appreciated, and now have a wonderful weekend. I talk to you in the next one, and goodbye.